And I'm live. Welcome to After Hours, everyone. I've been hearing some strange rumors about the Islamic Party of Ontario, and man, let me tell you, as a mild alcoholic, that puts me off for sure. Now I haven't looked into it, so we're going to look into it together while I read what I can on the internet. So bear with me. This is going to be a little weird. I don't often do this. The first thing I searched was just Islamic Party of Ontario, and I found some articles, titles, headlines being very deceiving at times. Some parties matter. The Islamic Party of Ontario doesn't. And I thought, that's funny. But what they're really saying in the entire article is, don't be afraid of this Islamic Party. It's literally nothing. And actually, the backlash to the party's existence is what made it far more well known, which is probably true. The backlash, too, according to this article, seems rather curious and odd, especially since, what's his name? Jawed Anwar, the party's founder, has publicly and aggressively supported Ontario Premier Doug Ford. And I think that's actually because Doug Ford went against the new sex ed curriculum for young students. It was very strange, the curriculum itself. And of course, anyone who actually read it and realized that it was authored, at least in part, by a convicted pedophile would probably want to take a good look at it and not move forward with this, and maybe, do something like it. Sure, it needs to be updated, the sex ed curriculum, but yeah, we should look more into it. But there was a lot of LGBTQ stuff in that curriculum, and I wouldn't be surprised to discover that an Islamic Party of Ontario was totally in support of Doug Ford for overturning this new curriculum. So far, most of the articles that I've seen, at least just glancing at the headlines, don't fear the Islamic Party of Ontario, or Elections Ontario grants Islamic Party of Ontario first steps towards whatever that is. I haven't read it yet. And it was a little tricky, actually, to find the Islamic Party of Ontario's principles and policy. But I actually found a little something. It's not a proper platform per se, but we're gonna. Oh, hello all. We're gonna look at it together. Let me try and screen share this if I can. This is weird. Okay. Screen share. Share.
What you sharing, buddy?
Oh, my man. I'm sharing the Islamic Party of Ontario's principles and policy page. How you doing, Pox?
Not bad, man. Playing Valkyrie Chronicles 4.
Okay.
Pretty sweet little tactical war game. So what's this Islamic Society of Ontario? What are they doing now?
Islamic Party. It's an actual political party. They have party... Well, I don't know if they have party status, but they're officially running in places. And
imagine my Islamic politics. Never heard of that before.
You need a certain number of seats to officially be a party and get proper funding and stuff. So they're brand new. They have no seats, but they've basically been given the go-ahead by the province's powers to be or to act as a party at least. And
you don't want to be a bigot. I mean, you got to let them go. They're different. They're not white,
They're different. They got to be. Look, this is the thing that bugs me, is immediately they're playing to their, oh my God, okay. Islamic Party of Ontario is founded on and will be guided in its policy formation by the following principles. And they talk about the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And it sounds like, that maybe they're moderate, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Now, okay.
Oh, no, never hope for a unicorn. They don't exist. No, no moderate Muslims. I keep telling you that.
Man, here's the thing: is the supremacy of God. It's in the charter, but the charter is basically talking about the Christian God, which is actually a little bit biased in its own right. And like as a Christian man, I'm happy to admit that's like not something that should be in the Constitution. But they immediately twist that into, oh, believing in God's supremacy means believing in his oneness, his authority, and his obedience in all spheres of life. Right? They're talking about the deen, which is that system of life that is Islam. And it's like, okay, no. They're basically saying your constitution, by this one phrase that recognized the supremacy of God, means that you must obey the Quran. Like it's that cut and dry. It's right here.
That is some slick shit. I have to give them credit for that. That is crafty as fuck.
It's pretty fucking crafty, dude. I like this one. The word Islam means surrender and peace. It does not. The word Islam literally translates to submission. It does not mean peace. Okay?
Well, it could mean pieces. That's what they end up at. Yeah.
No.
Kaboom.
And that's what's funny is the argument exists that Islam is a religion of peace. If everyone were Muslim, then there would be global peace, right? The counterpoint to that is until then. And yeah, that's Islamic Party is synonymous of the peace party. It is not. Surrender to God and attain peace. Yeah, see this? See this? Means Islam requires surrender to God to attain peace. Until then, yeah, that's fucking bullshit, man. And then you missed this part where I was looking at these other articles here. Some parties matter. The Islamic Party of Ontario doesn't, but it's not actually against them. It's like, oh, you don't need to fear this shit, right? Well-known journalist Tarek Fatah wrote a column claiming that its founder had previously condemned him as an enemy of Islam who therefore deserved to die.
That man should have a medal. Anyone who's declared an enemy of Islam is okay in my book. I'm just saying.
You know what's awesome is Tarek Fatah is a Pakistani immigrant to Canada who is a Muslim. He's fucking badass, man. He's Canada's Imam Tawhidi, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And don't fear the Islamic Party of Ontario. Are you kidding me? There's a political ideology built into the religion of Islam. The problem, the serious problem, is that Islam, the religion, claims that the religion, that its holy book, is the infallible, immutable word of God. So the political ideology is the infallible, immutable word of God. And don't fear it? Are you fucking retarded?
Has anybody had one of their representatives or one of their guys in a debate and pointed out that we've seen what political Islam does to countries and pointed out that the majority of the Middle East is basically fucking Stone Age?
This is brand new. This is like in the past few weeks. This has just happened.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I've been asking people for this to look into everywhere that the Muslim population has exploded, that Islam has become something like 30 to 50% of the population. How long until there's civil war and the country is either split, divided, or it just falls to Islam and becomes, like a what's the word I'm looking for? An Islamist nation, right? Like Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan.
We might have our answer soon. I think if there's any more people, any more Islamicists elected over in England, they're basically going to be considered a fucking Muslim country with a British monarch. Like that, that's the only thing you could call it at a certain point. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, no! Are you kidding me? They'd be the ones with the balls to throw off the fucking shackles of British oppression at this point. I'll give them that.
I don't know, man. I think they're too cowed. I think they've been beaten into the dirt so much with the oh, you racist, blah blah blah, and all that shit, and the white guilt that they still kind of heap on everybody over there with the from World War II and all that shit. Yeah, dude, they're done.
This is the dean.
Britain's a lost cause. You guys might have a chance though. If you guys might be able to. Oh, you had Faith Goldie got what was she? That was it was Faith Goldie, right? She got like a third of the vote for Toronto or whatever.
She got like less than 4% of the vote, but she came in third place.
That's what it was, third place. Yeah. So there might be hope for you guys. You gotta fucking make us think about this. Make sure you don't end up with a fucking Muslim mayor that lets a town get an entire fucking province get overrun and shit.
Our population, our Muslim population, even with all the Syrian refugees and illegal border crossers right now, is still something like between 0.8 and 1.5%, and that's spread across the country. They won't win a seat. I'm pretty sure of that the Islamic Party won't get an actual seat in my province. But still, like this stuff, this is the deen taught by all the messengers and prophets from God into all the nations. And they mention Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Jacob, Jonah, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. The thing is, I'm sorry, in my head, Jesus is like the light and the way, the Messiah, and Muhammad is a false prophet. So how do I fucking fall in line now when I just don't believe in this ridiculousness? You know what I mean? Like, of all the things, look, there's a lot of things you can say about Christianity, which is built on old Judaism and whatnot. You can be a dick about the religion. Absolutely. There's a lot of terrible things that...
Yeah, I mean, if you want to ignore the fact that it's evolved over the centuries, whereas Islam really hasn't.
For it can't. It claims to be the infallible, immutable word of God. Of course it can't evolve. But forget that for a second. Take this. Just read the Gospels and try and tell me that Jesus is a bad guy. Try and find something that Jesus says or does that makes him some sort of terrible person.
Hey, he whipped Jews in a church after flipping over tables. Nice guys don't do that.
No. Those Jews were, all right, all those people, they were trying to abuse religion and worship and faith time for a profit. That's what he was mad about.
So what you're saying is Jews gonna Jew?
No, I'm saying Jesus was a Jew, right? So if Jew's gonna Jew, Jew's gonna Jesus. Oh shit.
Oh fuck! I want to watch Moral Oral now. You ever seen that show, dude?
No idea.
They had a bit where in the church they had a little roped off section, and they had like 3 Jews, and they called themselves the Jews for Jesus.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there are Jews for Jesus, and let me tell you why. This is gonna blow your mind. All right, this blows a lot of good Christian people's minds.
I don't know, man. I just did a pretty fucked up stream with Porpoise. My mind's been melted already. So let's hear it though. Let's go.
Jesus was not the first Christian. Jesus did not come to the world to make people Christians. Jesus was a Jew who came to the world to make people better Jews.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, fuck, when he was around, Christianity didn't exist. Christianity was given its name after he was fucking done dead and resurrected and shit. Like,
it's named for him, and it's actually largely bullshit. That his whole point was like, you don't need this. You don't need the organized religion and the ritual and the stupid rules about like what you can put in your body. That's bullshit. What matters is what good deeds come from your body, what you do.
Yeah, that's the point of the symbolic meaning of the death and the resurrection was he was supposed to be the final sacrifice. So you didn't have to kill a goat every Sunday for fucking sacrifice half your fucking livestock or whatever, half your fucking crops and all that shit. That was the whole point.
That also like that's but I mean try and go through his message and find something that tells you that this is a bad man to whom we should not listen.
Look, he beat Jews in a church, in a temple. That's not a good man.
All right. He whipped oppressors.
Look, I'm not going to play a semantics game. He was whipping Jews. He was an anti-Semite.
He had internalized anti-Semitism.
Yeah, he was a self-hating Jew. All that shit was just projection. That's all it was.
He was the first progressive regressive,
So what's this Muslim party trying to do? I guess. Well, I mean, obviously they're trying to win seats, but I mean, how active are they? Like, are they starting the Canadian equivalent to political action committees and shit like that?
We don't have proper PACs like that, like the way they are in the States. I'm not even sure that what would be the equivalent. I think it's like a handful of people. It would be like if me and some of the other Canadian people that you met here decided that we were going to start our own party. Right?
Okay. You guys just tell me to do it.
Like Maxime Bernier's got more fucking traction than these guys ever will. I hope.
Maxime Bernier. That sounds familiar. What did she do? What did she run for?
He?
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, I know. He's the Frenchman. The Frenchman from.
Oh, then he is accurate.
Yeah. Always in this carpentry, always building the chairs. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat here. No, like, okay. He started a new party. He separated himself from the Conservative Party to be a proper conservative, because our conservatives aren't really conservative. They're not really too different from
they're CINOs, conservative in name only.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the way that like our liberals aren't really liberal. They're like, okay, our liberals are super regressive, and our conservatives are like chameleons, where they're basically trying to please everybody to get votes, and they're making promises on all sides, and it's like, no. Maxime Bernier decided he's leaving the party to actually institute a conservative party called the People's Party of Canada.
That sounds familiar too. I may have read about this. This has been an ongoing thing for a couple of years now, right?
It's in the last year for sure. If you actually watch some of my videos, then yeah, that's probably where you heard it.
Yeah, that's more than likely that's where it's from. You're basically my source for Canadian news at this point.
My man,
everything's been so crazy over the past couple months, dude. I just have it's all blended together. 2018 is just like one big day that never ended at this point.
Yeah, God, what a horrific day that was.
You're right.
But this is an election year in Canada, right? So we're gonna oust Trudeau one way or another, and yeah, like, I mean, conservatives, I guess that's slightly better than the liberals, but man, if the People's Party could actually grab some seats, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't think you guys could elect somebody that could make your country look as bad as he does. Not even as bad, just as weak. Because he was, oh my God, it was like everything he did was designed to make Canadians look like giant pussies.
It's not even look like pussy. Like, the man is just stupid. This is our leader, and he like
the Canadian George W. Bush.
God, oh my God. George Bush was a fucking paragon of professionalism compared to this guy. It's ridiculous. Like, he goes to India and he's dressed up in Indian garb, and his family is dressed in Indian garb, and all the Indian
just looking at him like, what the fuck is this white boy doing?
They're dressed in suits. They're wearing suits.
Yeah.
Right? Like, God.
He was trying to be culturally sensitive, man, and inadvertently ended up culturally appropriating the fucking Indians, which is it's progressive sin number one, and looked like a fool doing it. It was amazing.
And yeah, like, I mean, it's just so. He did literally nothing, not only for relations between nations. He actually failed on trade in a lot of situations with nations that we've traded regularly, even the U.S.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys still salty about being left out of the new
No,
North American trade
the
agreement?
the party is, the people aren't, right? Most of the people to whom I've talked about this understand that, yeah, no, Trudeau made a fucking mockery of it. He fucked up large when he had no leverage, and yet he tried to play these fucking cards, and Trump was like, I'm not having it. And it's like, what?
In all honesty, okay, so what is Canada's major export to the U.S.? Like, what would have been our benefit of keeping you in with all the fucking grandstanding he was doing about
Well,
with it
here's
all?
the thing.
Like,
This is actually a little bit complicated. Our major export is oil,
okay, well, that
and
makes sense.
it is the single largest item that we export, and like the most revenue. And you are not only our biggest customer, we are your biggest provider, believe it or not. Yeah, for
It
all the
makes sense.
Saudi
I mean,
oil,
I
and you're
imagine it would
self-sufficient.
cost less to ship it from Canada to the U.S. than it does from Saudi Arabia. But if I'm thinking right, we just started drilling again, didn't we? We're starting
Oh my
to
God.
our
They,
own
they
reserves, so that cuts you guys out. We wouldn't need it.
they tell you this, that you're technically, what is it? A net exporter, but we still sell you more oil than you buy from any other party. Now,
Hmm.
here's what's the real kicker is we don't have a pipeline from Alberta, which is where we get most of our oil, through British Columbia, which is a coastal province, to put it on the ocean in tankers. So we have to sell it to you, but you won't take it unless it's at a discount. So we only sell it to you for like 35 or $40 a barrel, where the global market price is like 55 bucks, pushing 60 now on some days. So because Trudeau didn't fucking push to make Alberta and BC work together to get our oil to Tidewater, we're stuck selling it to you.
And pretty much nobody else because you can't ship it
Yes,
overseas, right? Yes. Nice
exactly.
way to go, Trudeau.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
And now here's the thing: is Kinder Morgan, there are they a Texas-based pipeline company, oil company? They were ready to invest something like $7 billion to build this pipeline for us, and then take their cut of the profits when we started selling on the global market. This deal got fucked up so badly by the interprovincial static that Kinder Morgan pulled out after something like 2 years of waiting for us to figure our shit out. And all Trudeau had to do was be like, guys, fix it or I'll fix it for you. He had that power, right? He didn't do it. Kinder Morgan pulled out. So what do? We actually bought an old Kinder Morgan pipeline, something like 60 years old, for $4 billion. So instead of getting $7 billion from Kinder Morgan, we gave them $4 billion for a pipeline that already was in the ground and is 60 years old. And we still can't get our oil to Tidewater, and we still have to sell it to you for a fucking discount. How do you like that shit?
I think I'll never get tired of winning.
See, but that's the thing
It sucks for
is,
you guys, but it sounds like it was a good deal for us.
it absolutely was, but it's not because you or Trump did something fantastic. It's basically because we have a fucking moron who doesn't understand the economy, the global economy, let alone how to fucking solve interprovincial trade. You
What
know,
was what was his reasoning? Did it have some blah blah something environment blah blah? Was that
large,
basically his
large,
arguments?
yeah,
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 see
pretty
that's
much.
the problem with the whole leftist progressive thing in a nutshell is you can't do anything blah blah the environment blah blah. That's what most of the bad deals boil down to a lot of the times, especially now since they've a lot of them have started on this this global warming, climate change thing over the past, what was like 10 years that they've been pushing this nonsense.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous what they're willing to sacrifice for the environment. Like, I mean, yes, I get it. The environment supports us. We need to have a healthy environment in which to survive. But ask any one of these guys to promote fucking nuclear. Okay,
Ask
nuclear is
anyone
literally
like
the cleanest energy.
complexity
Okay,
theory. Ask any of them about complexity theory, and I guarantee you they give you a completely fucking blank look, dude.
yeah, I'm giving you a blank look right now. I'm not sure what that is.
So no matter what we do, it'll eventually right itself because it works on a time scale of eons and not fucking generations like humans do. It's basically
Sure,
what it boils down to. So anything we do, yeah, it might have a footprint that lasts maybe a few centuries or whatever, but in the grand scope of a planetary life cycle that goes for eons and eons and eons, it's fucking nothing. And eventually the planet will right itself.
sure. At least for a while. I mean, like, there actually is this thing called the carbon cycle where we will run out of carbon and all life on Earth will cease to exist. It has to eventually, right? But that doesn't have much, like, we're not having a huge effect on that in terms of, yes, the eons, the millions of years. We're looking at things like, oh, tide water's rising. Sure, we might be contributing to that. We're at least to a degree. But I mean, God, it's got it. The climate is constantly changing and has been for the entirety of, like, look at the continents as they are now. They didn't exist like this, and that has nothing to do with human intervention, right?
Yeah,
That,
that's just natural climate change.
the whole surface of the planet has been shifting for billions of years now, right? To suggest that we have this huge effect that we have to temper. No. If you want clean, affordable, renewable energy, you have to look at nuclear. And people are actually regressing from this. Was it Germany that pulled out? They had 80% nuclear energy, and they shut it all down and went back to coal.
Wow.
After Fukushima.
Well, I was going to say that's the only problem with nuclear energy is that when there is a major fuck up in one of these plants, oh my God, it is a major fuck up.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's not even words on how bad it is, and that's a lot of the problem is that a lot of these facilities aren't maintained the way that they were supposed to be, and a lot of them, at least in the U.S., they weren't supposed to be operating as long as they have been without being completely redone and fixed up and maintained.
There's a couple of things here that I'd like to address. Now, one of them is I can't remember who said it, but I read it in a long book about this, that it's ridiculous to live in fear of what might happen in some sort of ridiculous catastrophe while we continue to live happily, destroying the environment, burning coal and oil for electricity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, you look at Chernobyl, it was a huge, huge catastrophe. That's 1981.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
6 months later, people started moving back.
Yeah, but you can't really. Have you seen the mutant babies that came out of that? Holy shit!
That's all bullshit. That's all propaganda, man.
I refuse to believe that. They're fucking mutant. It looks like hills have eyes in Chernobyl. Okay, that's the reality I want to live in. Irving, don't take it from me.
Hey, you go ahead and live there, but let me tell you what's funny is the people that have lived there since, and the animals that have lived there, and some of the plants too. If you pull them out and run the Geiger counter over them, they read hot, like hotter than usual. But they don't have increased rates of cancer, and they don't have. Okay, I'll give you this: the worst mutations are terrible, but it's not like a huge increase in the rate of mutations and cancer. It's just like terrible cancer. Fast
I'm sure any increase in the rate of fucking 3-armed children and shit that looks like aliens coming out of wombs is a bad thing, Irving.
Sure. You're not wrong, but we're looking at like 0.001%. and 0.002%. Now you're going to call that double, but that's actually still an outlier. Like it's not the thing they made. It didn't go from 0.001 to 1.5% of all children are born with 3 arms. Like it's not. Yeah, and the thing is, the people that live there and the animals that live there, they actually read hot on the Geiger counter, but they're not sick.
But aren't there
They're
still
just
whole swaths of land over there that are pretty much off limits because of the high radiation count? That they're still dealing with the aftermath of that.
they
Like
say
you
that,
can't.
but they say it, but there's people that live there, and the people that live there are fine, right? That like they're not worse off than most other people. It's really fucked up, right? Like here's the problem: is in the immediate aftermath. Yes, of course, there's the actual fallout itself that does physical damage to people that are alive, and then there's like an immediate generation following that yes will have a huge increase, but after that it's suddenly almost normal because the sun is radioactive, man. Most of the world is irradiated to degrees that we're not super comfortable with. Like, do you know of 3 Mile Island?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 3 Mile Island, they talk about it like it was some catastrophe. 3 Mile Island was a perfect example of what triple redundancies do to prevent catastrophes. That everything worked the way it was supposed to. So when they had a leak and a not quite meltdown, everything shut itself off and nothing bad happened. And people freaked out because the water, the cooling water that was leaking, was irradiated. Okay. Now, someone took a glass of the water that was coming out of the 3 Mile Island facility and ran it under the Geiger counter. Now, I don't remember the exact numbers, but there were all these people protesting. And somebody went around and handed all of them bananas, said, "Hey, I'm here. You guys are here. You must be hungry. Here's bananas. Have a banana. They're good for you." Every one of those bananas, every single banana, red hotter than the water, than a glass full of water coming out of 3 Mile Island. Because bananas are radio fucking active. And most people don't know this and most people don't care. And when you say it, they don't listen.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Okay, so everything's pretty much irradiated, ultraviolet light and heat energy from the sun and all that. But then when you have a sudden increase for any period of time to a certain level, that's when the problems come in. That's when you start getting twisted genetics and fucking all the birth defects and fucking shriveled up fucking animals and all that crazy shit.
But that's the
like
only
with
way we're
Fukushima,
ever going to get the Fantastic Four, man.
there's still issues from Fukushima that we're just not being told about because people just stop paying attention because it happened, we think it's done. But there was still, I mean, after that happened, okay, so that was basically all this fucking irradiated water dumped into the fucking ocean from where there was a breach in the cooling system or whatever, where the fucking rods melted through the floor of the facility, right? So it's still dumping out all this fucking radioactive water. And then for like months after that, if you knew where to look to find the stories, you could find stories about all these fucking like melted ass fucking starfish washing up on shore and all kinds of like mass die-offs of fish. And we don't know what happened. But there was basically like a toxic radioactive plume in the ocean that was kind of being moved with the currents, and it was wiping out everything that it came across. And it's still ongoing because now that they can't cool these rods, they're still fucking burning away, dude. And there's seawater coming in, washing into this fucking thing, and then washing right back out. So it becomes an ongoing problem. But that's not because the radioactive energy itself is a problem. It's because the Japanese didn't fucking take care of this facility that they were supposed to. So the problem with the environmental problem with nuclear energy, at least from my perspective, comes into the human element, where we don't do shit the way that we're supposed to do shit, and we fuck it up for everybody.
You're not wrong. And let me tell you, the Fukushima problem is actually a lack of foresight. Okay.
Yeah, who
Now,
the hell builds a radioactive fucking plant right on the goddamn cliff next to an
on
ocean?
a
Yeah, I know.
fault
I
line.
100%.
On a fault line. No, yeah, no, of course, that's a bad idea. Like, dude, yeah, no, tankers, oil tankers, relatively safe, right? But don't fire grenade launchers at them, right? Like, I don't care how bad you are with a grenade launcher. This is not a good idea. And building the fucking reactor on a fault line is a terrible idea. Okay, right? Just build some power lines from mainland China where they don't have earthquakes out into Japan. That's how you do this. And I mean, there's lots of places where there's little to no tectonic action that you can build safe fucking nuclear power plants, man.
Yeah, my thing is too, like it seems like everybody has this idea of it's got to be one thing or another thing or this thing or that thing. Like you do understand that just because somebody comes up with a new source of power, that doesn't mean you have to stop using other forms of energy entirely. Like it is entirely possible to have energy grids that are based on coal-fired electric power plants, nuclear power plants, and solar power plants, all powering the same grid. And then and then once you have that going on, then you've got fucking backups. You know what I mean? The nuclear power plant goes down. Well, fuck it. We'll just crank up the output from the fucking solar plant. Or you know what I mean?
What's great is that that's literally what we have in the West, except that we're not focusing more on nuclear, right? That like coal is basically a standard. Nuclear is still relatively new, and we're not.
I think
Like,
solar would be the way to go, but we're going about it the wrong way.
I would like solar, but here's the problem:
The
is
only way
that
that solar
solar's
would become feasible is if we could figure out a way to harness the energy from the sun from space and then get it back down here.
you're talking Warhammer kind of shit, like Warhammer 40K, where
No,
we
that's
build
the
shit
only way
around
because
the
right
sun.
now, the solar facilities and plants that they try to build now, it doesn't get enough. You can't harvest enough without a massive surface area of these solar
Exactly.
panels. That's where the
Exactly.
problem comes in. But if you have some kind of like giant fucking platform or some shit that can, you can just shoot it fucking so far away from the planet and have some way to fucking transport, collect the energy, store it, and then transport it back and forth, then it becomes feasible. You know what I mean? Because then the surface area doesn't fucking matter because you can put it in a position where it's not going to block any of the heat and radiation coming to the planet, and you can still collect it.
See, and now we're actually in the realm of Elon Musk, not quite sci-fi,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and if he's not looking into that, he's probably got good reason. It's just not profitable right
Oh,
now.
he's working on becoming the king of Mars, dude. He's going to be the emperor of Mars
Sure,
before he dies.
sure.
That's his goal. He said it. That's what
Let
he's
him. I,
dude.
I
If
would follow the king of Mars
of Mars, I'm
to the
going.
new frontier.
Yeah, I'm right there. I will fucking bend the knee to Emperor Elon if he becomes king of Mars, dude.
But as of now, what we have is nuclear, and we have a ton of nuclear uh, information research, and we're just not using it. And people are terrified of it because they associate it with nuclear weapons, and it's not the same thing. It really isn't. Uh, it
No, but aren't nuclear weapons made from the byproduct of nuclear energy? Isn't that where the yellow cake shit comes from? Or am I
no,
thinking of
God, no,
something else?
no. It's two different things, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And then, there is the problem of storing the wastewater and shit. How do you get rid of that? I fire it at the fucking
no,
sun. That's
no,
what I
yeah.
say.
Look. There's actually a couple of ways to, three or four ways to do nuclear energy, and we do what's called a feeder reactor, where we put material in, it gets used up, and then we have this waste product that comes out, and we have to fucking bury it or fire it into the sun or something because it's toxic to everyone around them. But there's another kind of idea that they gave up on in the 60s, And I don't know why. It's called a feeder. It's called a breeder reactor, where the waste, because it's still hot, it just gets recycled back into the reactor, and it
Mm.
produces more energy. And basically, what you have is a huge investment, and then free energy for decades until there's no heat, so to speak, left in the waste product. So you have like a dead nothing. You have depleted uranium that you could use for fucking shells or armor on your tanks, right? And
It sounds like there was probably lobbyists involved, money to be made that
I
wouldn't have
would,
been made from the recycled materials.
because the entire system would be closed. So as long as it's not on a fault line and nobody fucking fires a missile at it, right? The system should just keep feeding itself for about 5 or 6 decades. So yeah, you're looking at like a $50 billion investment, and then free energy for 2 to 3 cities for 60 years.
It definitely
And
sounds like it would be worth it. Good luck getting the environmental nuts on
yeah,
it, though.
well, that's the thing. Is
That's
the
the
book I
problem.
was reading that taught me about all this shit was actually from an environmentalist who changed his stance from anti-nuclear to pro-nuclear. And yeah, and everyone shunned him for it. It was basically like an early version, in 1980s version of far left progressives. Oh no, you're a fucking Nazi and you hate the environment because you're going pro nuclear. Because he learned about nuclear. That was it. He learned about nuclear, and all the environmentalists hated him for it. This is one of the books I keep on my nightstand. I should go look for it. I haven't read it in a while, but
Oh my God, so gay, Irving. So gay. You know what I have by on my nightstand, dude? I have a knife and a fucking water glass. That's it.
oh no, yeah, I've
With
got
your
fucking
books.
look. I've got several books, also throwing darts and lube.
Oh Jesus, dude, that's fucking poor. What's your old lady's name? Tina, right?
Tina,
Yeah, poor Tina. That sounds like a bad night. Throwing, you're gonna fucking quote this nuclear environmentalist book while I throw darts at you. Get the lube ready.
I'm gentle with those darts, dude. Don't. That's what the lube is for. Okay, she's gonna hit me for that one. Shit.
That's cool. Hey, did she ever get you in a headlock? I told her to put you in a headlock and make sure
Oh,
that she says you will eternally be her bitch.
we'll talk about this off air, right? I wanna maintain the integrity of the show.
Integrity.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm drunk doesn't mean it's not a show. Let's move on here. Oh,
so
okay,
let's say we got is Islamic political parties in Canada, nuclear energy. What do we got next, buddy?
what do we got next? We're gonna address the chat. I want to scroll up a bit. I want to see. Oh, not too much. Tell that to the Sunni and the Shia. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is in reference to if all of the world was under Islam. Yeah. Nope. I agree with you. Uh,
That's the problem with theocracies. There's always fucking different sects vying for power.
Oh, I wish I spoke more Latin, G Money, because I would address this. In hoc signo vinces.
What the fuck did you just call me?
Inshallah, we will have a Muslim prime minister in 5 years. Oh,
oh, poor man. Move far away.
wallahi, wallahi, brother. Uh, they make it a seat in Windsor. Really, Stan? He thinks they're gonna get a seat in Windsor, provincially. Remove
So
kebab.
remove kebab. So if they get the seat, how long do you think it'll be before they start getting ballsy and start doing the browbeating?
They're gonna
Elect us or
need.
racist bigots
They're gonna
shaking
need a number
around
of seats.
Huh?
a number of seats. They'll need several. They'll have to actually get party status before they start doing that. So that's like eight to 12. Is it 8 or 12, guys? Hit me up. Um, Jews gun Jew is offensive.
Ah, too bad. I don't care. Jews gone Jew.
I like this. Curtis Duggan. Lumber, steel, oil, minerals. Three things make the empire great: faith, steel, and gunpowder. uh what is next? Electricity, water gets sold to the states. Yeah, but oil's our big deal. We
Wait, you sell us electricity? Is that what he said?
we yeah, actually we do.
Oh
From
Jesus, I'd
Ontario.
hate to see that Metro bill.
Oh God, no, it's ridiculous. In Ontario, they privatized our electricity. We used to have one of the cheapest hydroelectric bills for all people in the Western world, and then we privatized it because Kathleen Wynne, the provincial leader in Ontario, needed $50 billion to pay for all of her ridiculous social programs, and now my electricity bill is tripled.
Yarg.
Yeah.
What
And
fucking company did she sell these?
it
Jesus.
doesn't matter. Dude, I've said this before. I'm not a socialist, but there are some things that we cannot privatize. It's my electricity.
That sounds like it's been privatized, but it's also been monopolized. There can't. That's the problem with I get not commodities. What the fuck would you call that? I guess fucking resources and shit, huh? Necessities. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the only problem with privatizing shit like that is that eventually they become monopolized.
Well, yeah. See, I only get my water from one place. I only get my electricity from one place. I can't say, oh, I don't want Ontario electricity. I'm going to buy it from Michigan. It's not possible. I have to get what's given here. That's why being socialized made sense for those kinds of things. So now suddenly we privatized it, and guess what? There's no other place to get electricity. I don't get a choice. So they've tripled my bill. Right? It's fucking insane. Oh, that's another story. But here we go. A lot of the anti-pipeline activists were American, so they did do something to win, and Trudeau was stupid enough to fall for it.
Wait, was that part of the pipeline that was supposed to run through South Dakota or North Dakota or whatever it was, and the Indians got all pissed off about?
Wait. There was a couple. The XL pipeline and the XL went through. What was the other one? It actually did go through eventually. Yeah, the North Dakota. Now here's the thing:
that was going on when we fucking started talking on mines and shit. Because that's the thing.
Yeah,
one of the things we were talking about. Because I was fucking with all the people that were, oh, my engines are pissed, so I'm pissed too.
See, and that's the thing is, the Indians, by and large, were not upset. They wanted the money, and what you had was a bunch of fucking white people coming onto native land. And this is what's ridiculous: is the pipeline went through anyway, and their whole thing was, oh, it's going to poison the groundwater. You know, these people didn't build proper trenches for taking shits. So they poisoned the groundwater with all of their fucking human waste and their garbage.
Yeah, that was great. All the white protesters showed up, and the Indians were like, "Please, just leave. We got this. Just go away now." Fucking white people.
My God, yeah. It was just, oh my God. And like, there's this group called Tides that claim they're protecting Canadian tidewater on BC shores. And they're largely American funded, and they're largely funded. It's hard to find who's funding them, but a lot of the people that are funding the group called Tides are American oil barons. that they
Well, yeah,
buy, sell.
if you guys can't ship oil, then we can make more money shipping oil and buying oil.
Exactly. And they're the people funding Tides in Canada to stop building a pipeline to our own Tidewater to sell it on the global market. Because there's a dude, do you know how much fucking oil China would buy from us? And we can make them our bitch. They need us. They need our oil. The world does not provide enough oil for China to consume at this point. And if we could fucking get oil to our Pacific coast, yeah, we would suddenly we would have leverage with Trump, and we would not have been left out of these trade negotiations.
I think you would have. I think you would have because of the way the negotiations. We got tired of getting rammed.
You know, let me tell you, if we had done this right, if there was a proper conservative leader, he would have said, "Okay, Trump, I understand your tariffs. We're building a pipeline to Tidewater. Now what?" And Trump would have been a little more lenient, and we would have been more at the table. Everyone would have been more willing to make a deal.
Make Canada great again, and I think that would have been the attitude he probably would have took on it. You know, because he's a nationalist. I mean, nationalism doesn't. Yeah, we want to make America great again, but fuck, that doesn't mean we don't want other countries to make themselves great too, just not at our expense. That was the big sticking point with it. Was we've been getting screwed in the like we have been since what, fuck, Clinton, before Clinton, and that was the point. It was we just wanted a better deal for us.
Sure, no, exactly. You want a better deal for you because you have all the leverage, and that makes sense. When you have the leverage, you should get the bigger end of the stick. But
I don't know. That's the thing, that we could have left you out. And then you guys could have just entered your own entered into your own negotiations with Mexico.
If we had one big end of one big stick, we would have had a whole different conversation, right?
Yeah, you know probably. I mean?
It's like we're friends, Potts, right? And yeah, I've got something you want, you got something I want, but you have a big stick and I have nothing.
You hear that, Tina? Yeah.
We're gonna continue to be friends, but also I'm gonna have to take the short end of this deal, right? But if suddenly I have a bigger stick than you, even though I'm a smaller person,
fantasy.
Maybe we're gonna talk differently now. And I think that actually played into it a lot, that we did not do this and there was no sign of doing it, and Trump took advantage. He had to. Right? Because he would have been nothing but happy for us for being nationalistic and taking advantage of our national resources and our ability to put them out in the world. Right? Like he wouldn't have held it against us.
I think if you guys, I mean, regardless of who's got the bigger stick, I think if you guys would have just come to the table in good faith and not had somebody waving their dick around, I think the negotiations probably would have gotten to a point where everybody benefited and nobody felt like they were getting raped. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But we had no leverage because Trudeau is weak and stupid. And G Money says you get more radiation in an international flight than spending months near Chernobyl. That's actually, as far as I know, that is true. That when you fly that high, you're being bombarded with solar radiation. Because
why do you guys? Why does everybody want to ruin my fucking mutant human dreamland here of Chernobyl? God damn it!
Just fly around the world a little bit, and you and your girls will be mutants in no time.
I don't want to get touched by some fat, nasty TSA agent, and I will never step foot on a plane. So, no, I'm good. I'll just continue to believe that super mutants live in Chernobyl, dude.
You will never be Fantastic Four. That's basically how that is.
No, the Fantastic Four were lame anyway.
And now he's going. This is a little harder to believe, G Money. There are people who went into the core during the meltdown that are still alive and telling the story. Drink milk and iodine and vodka, potassium.
Be Ivan. That's pretty much what he's saying.
Yeah.
Be Ivan, you can survive irradiation. That's
White Russians and iodine they'll protect you from radiation poisoning. You know what? That's actually, I'm wondering if that's like the fucking the folk cure for radiation poisoning.
oh shit! It wouldn't surprise me.
Justicar, my man. It's early morning for him now. Never get on a plane? That is so strange to hear. Why? Why never get on a plane? Justicar asks you.
Cause I'm a giant pussy when it comes to heights. I can't fucking do it. I get vertigo and shit. The fucking highest point I think I've ever been was there's this place down in Kentucky called Natural Bridge. It's like this weird rock formation where they fucking eroded in a way where it's just like one giant fucking rock bridge, and I've been up onto the top of that and fucking never again. No, never ever again. I just can't do it. Falling to your death just sounds like a horrible way to go. I don't want to be in a spot.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, right?
If I'm gonna go out, I want it to be because like I got mauled by a bear or was doing something completely retarded, like thinking I'm stronger than rattlesnake venom or some shit. I want to fucking die in a plane crash.
Hey, just come to Canada. We actually have proper rattlesnakes and bears.
I'm good. You guys deal with your blue hair and tranny problem, and then we'll talk. I'm more afraid of them than I am of bears and rattlesnakes.
Yeah. None of these people have ever even seen a fucking photo of a bear or rattlesnake, as far as I can tell. God, they have. So anyway, okay. Islamic Party of Canada is a joke.
Won't be so funny when they start fucking gaining seats, man. I'm telling you, dude. This is how it starts. I'm sure they said the same thing when they started running over in fucking Britain. Oh, this is funny. Look, Muslims. This is a joke. This is some shit y'all better take seriously. I'm just saying.
And G Money's saying you can swim in an operating nuclear reactor. The water is deep enough in the tank to stop the radiation. I mean,
you go do this and you get back to me when you grow a fucking finger out of your elbow.
There's rods that should be absorbing the radiation, like the extra neutron and all that. And yeah, there's a science to it. It should be pretty clean. It should be smooth. Just don't get closer than 3 to 4 feet from the rods. Okay, so he understands the rods and how it works. That basically the water is cooling, and the rods are absorbing the water stops the neutrons. No, I thought the rods absorb the neutrons. Isn't that what they're for? And the water is just like a medium for the, yeah. I feel like nobody should ever take G Money's advice on anything. You know what? My man, nope. I'm always gonna fucking double check G Money's advice, but also yours and mine and Pox's and Justicar's. I'm always gonna double check before I take anybody's advice.
I would never give anybody bad advice that would make them look dumbass or get them hurt. Never. Why would I do that?
Double check that advice too. And let me tell you, I would double check my own and everyone's and never do anything on the first try. Always double check, guys. But I think this has been a pretty damn good fucking stream, and we're gonna call it. Is that cool, Pox?
Yeah, I'm good. I just jumped on to bust your balls a little bit. See what you was up to.
This was the wonderful ball busting. I actually enjoyed this very much. You got something to shill, some. You've got a channel and shit, right?
Yeah, my channel on YouTube is fucking garbage because YouTube is goddamn dying. But there is a thing on Stream Me that I just started up. We did our first stream tonight just to test it out. It's called It's called Toxicast. It is gonna we're gonna try to be the first people to get kicked off of Stream Me, so it should be pretty goddamn insane. It's me and National Libertarian and possibly whoever else. We're trying to get it set up so we can take calls through Discord eventually. We're working on we're putting production value into this, trying to make it a thing. So
Nice.
everybody check that out. It should be Friday or Saturday nights from here on out. We're going to shoot for another one next Friday, I believe.
Cool. And I'm Irving Twin. If you're following this and watching this, you likely know who I am, but that's the channel. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one, which could be, 1 week or 8 weeks away. We'll see what happens. My God, yeah, I'm so inconsistent. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night. Hail Sigmar. We'll see you eventually. Good night.
Hitler did nothing.